The Secret of the Snowflake Craftsman. Chapter 1: The Disappearing Snow. The small village prided itself on its winter season, glittering with snow. Every year, when the snow fell, the villagers would decorate their homes with small lanterns, enjoying the silver-white world. But this winter was different. Though the sky was covered with dull clouds, no snow fell. The villagers initially laughed it off as just strange weather, but as the days passed, unease began to grow. Luke, the protagonist of this tale, lived with his grandmother on the edge of the village. His grandmother often spoke of how snow holds a special magic, but Luke dismissed it as a fanciful tale. "Luke, do you remember?" His grandmother spoke one evening while knitting by the fireplace. "Snow isn't just frozen water. Someone pours their heart into creating it." "You actually believe that?" Luke frowned. "Snow just falls from the sky on its own." His grandmother smiled gently and took out a small wooden box. Inside was an old, weathered map. "This is something I found when I was young. This map is said to show the place where snowflakes are made. If you want to find out why the snow has stopped, follow this map." Luke hesitated. He had never thought about leaving the village before. But seeing the serious expression on his grandmother's face, his heart wavered. "All right. But if I find nothing, you'll laugh and admit it was just a joke, right?" His grandmother said nothing, offering only a mysterious smile. The journey begins. The next morning, Luke set out with the map in hand. The cold winter wind cut through the air as he walked on a hardened snow path that left no footprints. The map only said, "Head to the northern mountains," but there were no further clues. "Does this thing even work?" Luke muttered, glaring at the map. Suddenly, something moved in the snow. A small light flickered between the trees and stopped in front of Luke. It was a tiny snow spirit, with a transparent body like ice and eyes that sparkled like stars. "What are you doing here?" the spirit asked in a small voice. Startled, Luke answered, "I'm looking for why the snow has stopped falling. This map is supposed to have the answer." The spirit stared at the map for a moment before breaking into a bright smile. "I'm Frostja. I'll help you." And so, Luke and Frostja's adventure began. Chapter 2: The Path to the Frozen Forest. The cold wind whistled through the trees as Luke and Frostja trudged toward the northern mountains, guided by the old map. Frostja, the snow spirit, possessed the mysterious ability to communicate with the snow and ice around her, making her an invaluable companion for Luke on his journey. "This map is so old," Frostja remarked with a curious smile. "But the path it shows is definitely correct." "I hope so," Luke replied, squinting at the map. "Is this really the way to the workshop?" "It is, but it won't be easy to get there. Ahead lies the frozen forest." "The frozen forest?" Luke asked, puzzled. "Yes. It's a place where the entire forest is frozen solid, and even time itself stands still. Ordinary people would easily lose their way, but don't worry, I'm here with you." Luke felt a twinge of unease but was reassured by Frostja's confident words. He resolved to move forward. The frozen forest. After a while, the duo arrived at the edge of the frozen forest. The towering ice-covered trees sparkled with a faint blue glow, and the air inside was unnervingly still. As they stepped into the forest, Luke felt a strange sensation wash over him, as though time itself had stopped. "So this is the frozen forest," Luke whispered in awe. Frostja nodded solemnly. "This forest is protected by the Guardian of Ice. You need their permission to pass through." "Who's the Guardian of Ice?" Luke asked, his curiosity piqued. "They're an ancient magical being who watches over the forest. To get through, we'll need to prove ourselves by facing a trial," Frostja explained, her expression serious. "A trial?" Luke repeated, growing more nervous. Frostja smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry. I'll be here to help you." The trial, frozen memories. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the icy trees began to shift, their branches intertwining to block the path. Suddenly, a glimmering wall of ice appeared before them, reflecting Luke's image like a mirror. "This is the trial," Frostja said quietly. "What kind of trial?" Luke asked, cautiously approaching the wall. Before he could finish his thought, the icy wall began to show him a scene from his past. It was a memory of a younger Luke, trudging through the snow, calling out for his father. The boy's voice grew hoarse as he searched in vain. Eventually, he collapsed in the cold, tears streaming down his face. "This is my memory," Luke murmured, his voice trembling. Frostja gently asked, "Do you want to forget this memory?" Luke hesitated. The memory was painful, a reminder of loneliness and loss. But deep down, he knew it was an important part of who he was. "No," Luke finally said. "I don't want to forget. This memory made me stronger." The moment he spoke, the icy mirror began to glow, and the walls slowly dissolved, revealing a clear path ahead. Meeting the Guardian of Ice. At the heart of the forest, Luke and Frostja found a massive ice wolf waiting for them. Its eyes gleamed with a sharp, piercing light as it regarded them. "Travelers," the wolf rumbled, its voice deep and resonant, "to pass through this forest, you must be prepared to learn the truth about the snowflake craftsman. Are you ready?" Luke met the wolf's gaze without flinching. "I'm ready," he said firmly. The wolf studied him for a moment before nodding. "Very well. I shall grant you passage. But remember, what lies ahead will test your resolve." With those words, the wolf stepped aside, and the path to the workshop became visible in the distance. The faint outline of the snowflake workshop shimmered against the horizon, its windows glowing softly with a mysterious light. Chapter 3: The Mystery of the Snowflake Workshop. After passing through the frozen forest, Luke and Frostja finally reached the snowflake workshop. The building, nestled against the side of a mountain, was made of stone and adorned with frosted windows that glowed faintly with a bluish light. However, there was an eerie stillness about the place, an absence of life that unsettled them both. "This is the Snowflake Workshop?" Luke asked, his voice a mix of excitement and unease. "Yes, but something feels off," Frostia replied, her tone uneasy. As they approached, the large wooden doors creaked open slowly, as if inviting them inside. A rush of cold air greeted them, sending a chill down Luke's spine. Inside the workshop. The interior of the workshop was vast and awe-inspiring. An enormous ice chandelier hung from the ceiling, casting shimmering reflections across the room. Snowflakes of all shapes and sizes floated gently in midair, radiating a soft, magical light. Rows of workbenches and tools were neatly arranged, but there was no sign of the craftsman who should have been bustling about. "Where is everyone?" Luke whispered, the silence pressing down on him. "This place is usually full of activity," Frostia said, her voice laced with concern. "Something must have happened." Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from the far corner of the workshop. Luke and Frostia cautiously made their way toward it. A new ally, Sabrina. In the corner of the workshop, they found a lone figure hunched over a workbench. It was a woman wearing a long apron, her face weary and lined with exhaustion. She was staring intently at a broken snowflake, her fingers tracing its fragile edges. "Hello," Luke called out softly. The woman startled, turning sharply to face them. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" she asked, her tone a mix of surprise and suspicion. "I'm Luke," he said. "We've come to find out why the snow has stopped falling." "Who are you?" The woman sighed and introduced herself. "My name is Sabrina. I'm one of the craftsmen who work here. Or at least, I used to be." "Used to be?" Frostia asked, her brow furrowing. Sabrina shook her head sadly. "Everything fell apart when Elder, our most skilled craftsman, vanished. Without her, we can't complete the snowflakes. She was the only one who could imbue them with the magic that makes them truly unique. The mystery of Elder." Sabrina explained that Elder had always been the heart of the workshop. Her skill in crafting the final details of the snowflakes was unmatched, and her magical touch was essential for their completion. But a few weeks ago, she had disappeared without a trace, leaving the workshop in disarray. "We've tried to replicate her techniques," Sabrina continued, "but nothing works. Even the snowflake she left unfinished." She gestured to the delicate, incomplete snowflake on her workbench. Luke picked it up carefully. It was fragile, yet it emitted a faint, otherworldly glow. "There's something strange about this," Luke said, studying it closely. When Frostia touched the snowflake, shimmering letters appeared within it, like an icy message carved into its core. The message read, "To the ice cavern. A new destination." "The ice cavern?" Sabrina gasped. "That's a legendary place. It's said to be where the magic of snowflakes originates. But it's far too dangerous." "Dangerous or not, we have to go," Luke said firmly. "If Elder is there, we need to find her." Frostia nodded in agreement. We can't let fear stop us. The snow depends on us. Sabrina hesitated, then handed Luke a small pouch. Take this. It's a special powder to protect the snowflake. You'll need it in the ice cavern. The journey resumes. As Luke and Frostja left the workshop, the silhouette of the distant mountains loomed before them. A faint, eerie glow flickered at the peak, marking the location of the ice cavern. I promise we'll bring Elder back, Luke said to Sabrina, determination shining in his eyes. Be careful, Sabrina said quietly, watching as the pair disappeared into the snowy landscape. The road ahead was steep and treacherous, but Luke felt a growing resolve. Somewhere in the ice cavern lay the key to saving the snow, and perhaps unlocking an even greater truth about the magic that bound their world together. Chapter 4: The Ice Cavern and the Ancient Guardian. The ice cavern lay hidden on the steepest slope of the northern mountains. When Luke and Frostja finally reached its entrance, the snow was deeper than ever, and an icy wind seemed to push them back, as if warning them to stay away. This is the ice cavern, Luke whispered in awe. The entrance was like a colossal sculpture carved from ice, with towering columns and intricate patterns shimmering in the cold light. A faint bluish glow emanated from deep within, casting eerie shadows on the snow-covered ground. Luke tightened his grip on the pouch of protective powder Sabrina had given him and stepped forward with Frostja. Inside the cavern. The cavern's interior was as cold as it was vast. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of crystalline ice that reflected and refracted light like a sea of frozen stars. As they ventured deeper, the temperature dropped further, and the silence became almost deafening. This place feels alive, Luke murmured, his breath visible in the frigid air. That's because it is, Frostja replied, her tone hushed. The ice cavern holds ancient magic. It's said that this is where the first snowflakes were born. As they moved forward, a rumbling noise echoed through the cavern, shaking the ground beneath their feet. What was that? Luke asked, his voice trembling. The Guardian of Ice, Frostja said, her expression serious. We're close. The Guardian awakes. At the heart of the cavern, a massive icy platform rose from the ground, and atop it stood a colossal ice dragon. Its translucent body glimmered with frost, and its piercing blue eyes seemed to see right through them. Intruders, the dragon growled, its voice deep and resonant, echoing off the cavern walls. What is your purpose here? Luke stepped forward, trying to keep his fear in check. We're looking for Elder, the snowflake craftsman. She might be here. The dragon studied Luke for a moment before speaking. To proceed, you must prove your heart is worthy. Face the trial of the frozen heart. The trial, the frozen heart. The dragon lowered its massive head, and a glowing pedestal of ice appeared before Luke. Atop it rested a broken snowflake, its edges jagged and incomplete. This snowflake reflects the heart of its bearer, the dragon said. Restore it, and prove the truth of your intentions. But beware, if your heart is not pure, the snowflake will shatter. Luke hesitated, then stepped forward and picked up the snowflake. The moment he touched it, Images from his past began to play out before his eyes. It was the memory of his younger self, trudging through the snow, calling out for his father. He had searched tirelessly, only to collapse in the cold, overcome by loneliness and despair. "I hated snow," Luke admitted quietly, his voice trembling. "Every time it falls, it reminds me of that day." Frostja stepped closer, her voice gentle. "But snow also brings hope, doesn't it? It's what brought us here, together." Luke closed his eyes, focusing on the memory. "I won't let the pain define me. I'll use it to move forward." As he spoke, the broken snowflake in his hands began to glow. Its jagged edges fused together, and it was restored to its original, intricate form. The guardian's approval. The dragon watched as the restored snowflake floated gently back to the pedestal. "Your heart is true," it rumbled. "You may proceed." The dragon's massive body shifted, and the icy walls parted to reveal a new path deeper into the cavern. Before disappearing back into the ice, the dragon offered a final warning. "What lies ahead will test you further. Be prepared." Elder's Trail. Luke and Frostja followed the path to the cavern's innermost chamber. There, they found a large frozen throne surrounded by scattered tools and scraps of parchment. Frostja picked up one of the papers, which was covered in Elder's handwriting. It says, "Take me to the Ice King," Frostja read aloud, her voice heavy with concern. "The Ice King?" Luke asked, frowning. "Who is that?" Frostja hesitated before answering. The Ice King was once a powerful wielder of snow magic. But he was banished from the workshop long ago for using his powers selfishly. Then he must have taken Elder. Luke said, his fists clenching. "We have to find her." Frostja nodded. "We will. But if the Ice King has her, this won't be easy." Chapter 5: The Ice King's Castle. After leaving the ice cavern, Luke and Frostja stood before a towering ice castle. Its massive structure loomed against the snowy landscape, exuding a chilling aura that sent shivers down Luke's spine. Dark clouds swirled above the castle, illuminated by flashes of eerie blue lightning. "This is the Ice King's domain," Frostja whispered, her voice tinged with both awe and fear. "We can't turn back now," Luke said, clenching his fists. "Elder is in there, and we have to save her." With determination, Luke marched toward the castle's heavy, frost-covered doors, Frostja following close behind. Entering the castle. The doors creaked open with a loud groan as Luke and Frostja pushed them together. A wave of icy air greeted them, colder and sharper than anything they had felt before. Inside, the castle was vast and silent. Its floors were made of polished ice that reflected their every movement, and the walls shimmered like frozen crystal. Where could Elder be? Luke muttered, scanning the cavernous hall. Before Frostja could respond, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the castle. "Who dares enter my domain?" The voice reverberated around them, its source impossible to pinpoint. Luke stood his ground and shouted back, "I'm Luke. We've come to free Elder." Give her back." A cold, mocking laugh filled the air. "Foolish child. Elder belongs to me now. The magic of the snowflakes is mine to command." Confronting the Ice King. As the voice faded, a figure emerged from the shadows of the grand hall. The Ice King wore a long, flowing robe of frost and carried a staff embedded with a glowing snowflake, the very one Elder had left unfinished. His eyes gleamed with a sharp, icy light that seemed to pierce straight through Luke and Frostje. "You seek Elder?" the Ice King sneered. "She is here, but she serves me now." He raised his staff, and from another shadowed corner of the hall, Elder appeared. Her expression was blank, her movements mechanical, as though she were under a spell. "Elder!" Luke called out, running toward her. But before he could reach her, the Ice King struck his staff against the floor, and a towering wall of ice shot up, blocking his path. "If you wish to free her," the Ice King said coldly, "you must defeat me. But know this, if I fall, this castle will collapse, and all within it shall perish." The trial of the heart. Before Luke could respond, Frostje stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Fighting isn't the only way." The Ice King narrowed his eyes. "What nonsense do you speak, little spirit? My power is absolute." "No, it's not," Frostje replied. "You were once a craftsman who loved the magic of snowflakes. You created beauty, not destruction." Luke joined her, his voice steady. "Elder didn't craft that snowflake for you to use as a weapon. She made it to remind you of what snow is meant to be, a symbol of hope." The Ice King's icy demeanor faltered, his expression flickering with uncertainty. The glowing snowflake on his staff began to shine brighter, as though responding to their words. "This snowflake," Luke said, stepping closer. "It carries Elder's message. Listen to it." The Ice King's redemption. The snowflake embedded in the staff began to hum softly, and Elder's voice echoed through the hall. "Ice King, the heart of snow magic is not power but love. Remember the joy you once found in creating something beautiful." The Ice King's grip on the staff loosened as he stared at the glowing snowflake. I had forgotten." The light grew brighter, enveloping the hall. The Ice King fell to his knees, the staff slipping from his hand. The snowflake floated free, its light shattering the icy spell that bound Elder. Elder blinked, her eyes regaining clarity as she turned to Luke and Frostje. "Thank you. You brought me back." The castle's collapse. But the moment the staff broke, the castle began to tremble. Cracks formed along the icy walls, and chunks of the ceiling started to fall. "We have to get out of here," Elder shouted. Luke and Frostje grabbed her hands, and the three of them ran toward the exit as the castle crumbled around them. Behind them, the Ice King remained on his knees, watching the destruction with a somber expression. As they reached the castle gates, a massive explosion of ice erupted behind them. They turned to see the castle collapse completely, its shards rising into the sky and transforming into a swirling snowstorm. Snow restored. The snowstorm spread across the sky, and gentle snowflakes began to fall once more, blanketing the world in soft white. Back in Luke's village, the townsfolk looked up in wonder as the snow returned, bringing with it a sense of peace and joy. "We did it," Luke said, smiling at Elder and Frostja. "The snow is back." Elder nodded. "Not just the snow. The Ice King's heart has been freed from its prison of ice. He'll find peace now." Luke looked out at the falling snow, his heart filled with warmth. "Snow isn't just cold, it's hope, isn't it?" "Yes," Frostja said with a soft smile. "And thanks to you, that hope will always shine." Epilogue. With the snow restored, Luke and Frostja returned to the village, greeted as heroes. Elder returned to the snowflake workshop, ready to resume her craft with renewed purpose. And somewhere in the far reaches of the frozen mountains, the Ice King's legacy remained, this time, as a reminder of the beauty of snow and the warmth it could bring to the world. The adventure was over, but for Luke, it was only the beginning of understanding the magic that snow and hope could hold.